And picked off by Harry Jones. And Jones, Samoa given. Then is Samu Manoa given chase. And meanwhile, Jones going to go all the way as the U.S. can't recover on the tackle.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Canadian Ruck. This is Jamie Gray. I want to thank all the listeners for coming back and joining us for another episode. And this time we get to hear from Harry Jones. Very exciting. Harry was a member of Canada's U17, 19, and 20 rugby clubs. He's also currently the co-captain of the men's sevens program. He's very versatile. He's got over 20 caps with Canada's 15s program, and he also represented them at the 2015 Rugby World Cup in England. He's got a gold from the Pan Am Games in 2015 and a silver from 2019. And in 2019, he became the third Canadian to appear in 67 series tournaments, joining Nathan Hirayama in front of the pod, John Moonlight. And he also has over 700 points on the seventh circuit. It's pretty impressive. We also have us joining us today is Gabriel Casey. We get a chance to chat with a young fellow out of the University of Victoria, rising star out there. We're going to hear from him and his thoughts on the game as well. Before we get to all that, though, we got to do our plug. We got to do a little bit of news. Let's start with our plug. If you're a returning listener, awesome, keep it up. But if you're new, you want to find out how to follow us or how to get in touch, we're on the Twitter at Canadian Ruck. We're on the Instagram, _Canadian_Ruck. We're on the Facebook at the Canadian Ruck, and our email is the CanadianRuck@gmail.com. Remember, we're all over the place. We're on YouTube if you want to watch the rugby conversations. But if you just want to listen, if you want to throw it on when you're in the car or snow blowing or mowing the lawn, what have you, we're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Castbox. And we also have our website, which is the CanadianRuck.weebly.com. So make sure that you share that out to anybody that you think might be worth sharing to. All right, what's going on in the rugby world? There's been a few things. I'm recording this Friday afternoon. It'll be dropped on Saturday morning. So locally, hopefully everybody's heard now, the Women's Rugby World Cup in 2021, the pool draws have been done, and Canada are in Pool B with the US, Europe 1, and Asia 1. It's really neat. This will be the first time Canada and US are in the pool stages at the Rugby World Cup, and we know our girls are going to give them hell and advance through. So great. That's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see that. Also locally in the Major League Rugby, two big signings. There's been a lot of great signings, but two that really struck a chord with me because they're two past guests, two friends of the pod. Jeff Hassler with Austin Gilgroni, and DTH Vander Merwe has signed with LA Giltinis. News is a couple of days old. I imagine everybody's heard that, but it is great to see. Both lads are going to tear up the MLR, going to bring a lot of excitement and electricity and just dynamic rugby, and it's going to be great for fans of the MLR and those two teams in particular. DTH had a nice quote yesterday. He said, "I only see big benefits for Canadian and U.S. rugby because in the years down the line, kids at school will be looking at the Giltinis and MLR players with the thoughts, I want to be like them." Yeah, I mean, everybody that we talk to on the pod thinks Major League Rugby is something that needed to happen, and it's going to be great for rugby in North America on this side of the pond, I guess, and those two are going to add to that. I chatted with both a little bit after the signings. Both are super stoked, and they're very impressed with the growing talent the MLR has to offer. On the international side, like, holy geez, All Blacks fans, just relax. You know, you lost 2 in a row. It happens, man. Life happens. Quit harping on them. You know, being in Canada, we see that all the time when Canada doesn't win the World Juniors or Canada doesn't win gold at the Olympics. But man, like, there's some good teams out there too. What really struck me, I watched the game, and Argentina was a team possessed. But what struck me was afterwards, Captain Sam Cane was being interviewed, and a lot of people had been blasting Coach Ian Foster, calling for his head and calling for him to get fired. And Sam stuck up for his coach. He stuck up for his mates, and he took a lot of heat for that. And during the interview, he had this really good quote when he talked about the importance of fans and things like that. But some companies like the Rugby Pass and other social media sites just took a snippet of what he said and posted it out there. And of course that drew the ire of a lot of fans. But the only thing they showed from Kane, the only thing that they said was from Kane, they may think they know a lot about rugby, but in reality, they don't really. If you hear that in itself, coming from the captain of the All Blacks, coming from Sam Cane, doesn't sound great at all. Social media twisted a little bit. They didn't post the full statement. They didn't post the context. This is what he actually said. This is the full breadth of that comment, although there's a lot more, but this is the full breadth of that specific piece. We've got some pretty amazing fans, but we've also got some pretty brutal ones. With that, you've just got to remind yourself, hey, they may think they know a lot about the game of rugby, but in reality, they don't. They may know the game from what they see in the 80 minutes, but they don't see the stuff behind the scenes. To me, context right there is huge. I think it's true. Hey, every Canadian can argue that we all know hockey better than anybody else, but not all of us are professional coaches or professional players. Same as rugby. Like, we all know the game, but we don't know it in depth. I mean, when Sam Cane was on the pod with Tyler Arjon, I chatted with him for 5 or 6 minutes before the pod started, and just the way that he and All Blacks understand the game on such a different level than Canadians or general people that love rugby, it just astounded me. A lot of people online have been saying that McCaw would never have said this. Richie McCaw would never have done this. Sure, maybe. It's probably true. But they're two different players. They're two different people. And that comparison doesn't need to happen. McCaw was the captain of probably the greatest All Black squad ever, and arguably the greatest sporting team for an extended period of time. Where they're at 90% win rate for like 10 years. Cane has a different mix of players. They've got a new coach that they're learning from. They've got They've got young guys. They've got some old guys. It's just a different mix, and I don't think it's fair to throw that criticism on Cane. And bottom line, did it suck for the All Blacks to lose, first to Australia and then Argentina back-to-back for the first time since 2011? First time losing to Argentina ever since they started playing them in 1985. Argentina, though, was ranked in the top 10. They're a tier 1 nation, whether you go tier 1, tier 2 or not, they are a tier 1 nation. And as you probably know, they hadn't played in 13 months. Their players were incredibly well rested. Whereas the All Blacks players started in April. They've been going for 7 months straight without a break. So maybe that goes something with training. Maybe sometimes, the argument maybe more isn't enough. Maybe sometimes you need a little bit more rest. I don't know. I just don't think it's fair the way some of the fans have been criticizing, and especially going at Cane for what he said. I don't think that's right. That's my opinion. What's yours? Gray area. Did Cane step out of line with his comments towards fans? Or do you think, yeah, you know what? Hey, let's call it as it is. We know more than you. Let us do our thing. We'll get there. I want to hear from you. We'll throw that out in the gray area midweek, and we'll see what we can come up with. But right now, we're going to hear from a new friend of the pod, UVIC star, Gabriel Casey. All right, in this pod, we welcome Gabriel Casey. Gabriel's an up-and-coming rugby player playing out at University of Victoria. So, Gabriel, welcome to the Canadian Ruck.
Right on. Cheers, Jamie. Really appreciate the chance to talk.
No problem. Love chatting rugby with all members of the rugby community. So, Gabriel, let's jump right into it. How did you get involved in rugby?
Yeah, so obviously a bit of a rugby family. My dad actually played for the London Irish throughout the 80s. And it was just after his passing that we kind of decided to get involved with the sport a little bit more, just as a way to honor him. So that started around like many kids in Ontario, just around the beginning of high school. And it's come a long way since then.
Yeah, it seems to have. But so let's back up a little bit. So from Ottawa, and my understanding is you were playing some really competitive hockey up into high school. Can you talk about, maybe the level of hockey you were playing and how that helped you balance, learn rugby skills? Was there a transition between the sports? Anything like that I guess that showed that you are a very talented athletic person?
Yeah, very, very talented athletically. Who knows? That might be a bit of a push, but no, definitely. I think hockey, one of those sports that's pretty good for athletic development, and definitely, obviously, being from Ontario, definitely a pretty good way to cope with the winters. Ended up getting drafted to the junior Sens, so that was in grade 10. And then quit about a little bit after a year later, but I definitely attribute a lot of my own development as an athlete and definitely as a person to my involvement with the sport. And I know from my own experience, it seems that a lot of the guys coming out of the Canadian rugby system, have definitely had some background in another sport, obviously produced some pretty athletic guys, pretty strong and explosive athletes. So I think a lot of it does come from prior involvement in different sports for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover between rugby and hockey, just the fluidity, the transition of it a little bit. It definitely it can help if you're a hockey player and you just want to play rugby on the side, or vice versa. But you've taken some of those skills you learned in Ottawa, and you've moved on. You're Victoria, your early 20s. What's it like playing university rugby in Victoria, which British Columbia is the epicenter of rugby in Canada? So talk to us about that, your involvement there.
Yeah, definitely. Don't mean to sound too corny, but no, it really is a dream out here. Just like being able to head to the beach or go on a little bit of a hike just before you've got practice in the late afternoon. Yeah, definitely a lot of growth since I've been here. My first year was definitely a bit of a big move, and I know a lot of guys have voiced the same thing that have been coming from Ontario and from out east. It's also been a pleasure to work with Doug, obviously goated coach. He's got a lot to say and a lot of insight into what's been going on for like decades now. So being super fortunate to be in a position to kind of take on some of his learnings and his blessings. I don't know if I could call it, but super fortunate. And obviously, I mean, BC Premier League, obviously probably not at the strength that it once was, but still a lot of good players coming out for sure. And then obviously with the addition of the Pacific Pride, we get to kind of level up against them every so often. But yeah, definitely a great place, if not the best place to come and hone your skills, and then also try and bully for a degree as well. Yeah.
So what are you taking in school?
I'm just in business. So yeah, just in the third year of the core business program. Definitely a pretty strong business school as well. And a lot of the rugby guys are also in the same program. So it makes it a little bit easier for sure.
Nice. So Gabriel, what are your rugby aspirations? Are you aiming, like, are you pushing for rugby sevens? You pushing rugby 15s? Is the Toronto Arrows on your periphery? Like, where do you see yourself working towards right now?
Yeah, definitely. Probably not in the position to specify too early on. Just pretty hungry for any opportunity, of course. Yeah, would be almost surreal if you did get the call one day, but it'd be pretty awesome you get to see the sevens guys out here training in Langford and such. And obviously Nate Hirayama and Isaac Kay have been out to coach for pretty much the better part of this past term. So I think, of course, Olympics, would be up there. A lot of good players out there as well. So you want to stay realistic, but yeah, I think, battling out there with the sevens boys would be pretty crazy experience, I think. Yeah.
You sound like a typical Canadian rugby player, just as humble as can be. But I want to. So to me, the way you're talking, you're hoping to push for a 7th spot at the Olympics. God willing, COVID is shut down by then.
Yeah,
and can take place. Like, what are you doing to try and, I guess, maybe get a look at by the coaching staff for that roster?
Yeah, definitely. So normally we do have the sevens boys come for a little scrimmage if it's once a term or yeah, like twice a year kind of thing. So just my involvement through that. Also had a good opportunity to showcase some of my talents, I guess, but no, just through 2 years with the under 20 program. So that was huge, obviously. Definitely hard out to all the boys that got their under 20 taken away this year. But yeah, and then as well, just going to Rugby Town and some of the invitational sevens, like LA, obviously this past year as well. So just trying to hone my skills through some of those bigger tournaments for sure.
That's great. So you're doing whatever you can to kind of get your name there so that they recognize you and hopefully give you a taste and give you a crack, right? That's awesome. So what are you, 20, early 20s, 22?
21.
21?
Yeah.
So you've got a little bit of time left in university. You're finishing up your business degree. You've got aspirations for the sevens and maybe beyond. Or, sevens would be an incredible adventure if you stayed there for 10 or 15 years as well.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward. You're 35. You just finished your rugby career. Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, still involved with the sport. Would be a bit of a sad day, I think, to not have some sort of impact or anything. But I think super important to have a grasp on what it means to be socially responsible. Definitely got to be given back to the sport and to the community. That has definitely given me a fair amount of opportunities. So I think through coaching or mentorship or whatever it may be. I've been involved a little bit with the BC Grassroots Rugby Foundation, just spearheaded by Clay Panga and Dougie. Yeah, so hopefully something through that or whatever organization it may be, just hopefully giving back and really just trying to push the rugby culture a little bit so it expands a little bit more in the country. Definitely, I think it would be a positive thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe something with your business background. Maybe you're going into the management side of Rugby Canada or something like that too, and helping with new initiatives. That would be really awesome as well.
Yeah, maybe some business decisions. We'll see.
You never know, right? All right, last question, and I'm just throwing this one out to you here. You're 21. Let's fast forward. You're 51. You're 30 years out of university, what have you. You're getting together with your UVIC teammates. What do you want those guys to say about you as a teammate? What do you want them to say about you as a player and as a person?
Yeah, a bit of a loaded question, but
yep. Hey, this is a great one. I ask all my guests this, and it's nice to be able to forward think about where they are, and it also helps people recognize that I want people to say this about me, but am I actually doing that now? And it helps you with goal setting. It helps you with setting fears and how you can overcome them. So this is something great to think about, especially as a young athlete.
Definitely. Yeah. I totally agree there on that front. Yeah, definitely tough to remember what a lot of people say. Definitely, I think like a lot of what people remember is probably, the impact that you had on them. So I totally agree with you. Hopefully oftentimes try and bring a bit of a lighthearted spirit to training, obviously, because it can get pretty rough in the trenches out there sometimes. But no, I definitely think truth is one of those things that's losing a lot of popularity in a lot of today's spaces. So hopefully maybe the word honesty would be thrown in there.
That's a good one.
Yeah, with myself and just obviously with teammates and making sure that you're putting in your best effort every time. I think honesty would probably be my number one. Hopefully, who knows?
Hey, no, that's a great answer, because you can look at that in a few different ways, and you sort of touched on it. Honesty is in the integrity of your character as a person, but also how honest you are in the pitch. Are you actually marking up your men? Are you cutting corners in training? So honesty goes a long way on a rugby club, whether you're playing 7s or 15s or in the business world. If you can be that honest, genuine person all the time, people know what they're going to get from you. And I think that's very important in a team dynamic game such as rugby. So I think that's a great answer, Gabriel. That's really good.
Cheers. Appreciate that.
Listen, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I thank you very much. Wish you the best of luck moving forward on your 7s journey. And hopefully we see you get a crack with the national team here soon, and best of luck finishing up your business degree.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Good luck with pushing the culture still, man. Keep on posting.
We appreciate it, bud. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's great. Thanks, Gabriel. Great time chatting with you. Good lad. Look forward to tearing it up the pitch soon, with UVIC and potentially with Team Canada. And hopefully that dream comes through for you, but it was nice chatting with you. But now we're on to our key feature. So stay tuned, because right now we have Harry Jones. All right, so welcome back to the Canadian Ruck. We're fortunate today. We're chatting with Harry Jones. Harry's out west right now, and he's taking some time out of his day to have a chat with us. So Harry, welcome. We really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get right to this. You're born and raised in Vancouver, and I think I read somewhere that you started playing rugby around the age of 13, which is kind of young in Canada. We're getting there now with grassroots level, but 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. Talk to us how you became involved in rugby. Maybe I think your brother might have been involved, your high school, university, stuff like that. How did you make it to Team Canada?
Yeah, so I started off just playing sports in general, because I have 2 older twin brothers. They're 2 years older, Ben and Charlie, and they were unbelievable athletes at anything and everything that they played. So I, being the younger brother, just wanted to do everything they did. So that's what got me into rugby. It didn't start off there. It was more baseball, soccer, those kind of things. And then rugby kind of came into the frame in grade 7, grade 8. Hopped on with Capilano Rugby Club. And then in grade 8, because my brothers were playing as well, hopped onto the team there too. But definitely it was because my brothers were playing rugby. I thought it was cool. And then obviously going to a school like Rockridge, which has such a rich rugby history, and the coaches there that have done such a good job. I mean, that just brought me into it. And to be completely honest, I wasn't very good until later on in high school. I was grade 8, 9, wasn't didn't really know what I was doing. Wasn't a big fan of the contact element of it because that was the first time I was really doing that too. So, but I kind of stuck with it. I had some great coaches as well. Started off in grade 8 with Dave Henning, who was a great influence on me, both on and off the pitch, to kind of straighten me out a little bit. And then Tim Murdy, obviously coaching there at Rockridge along with Perino Zambon, very influential in my rugby career. And then just watching my brothers play. So yeah, in high school it was that. Lucky to be at Rockridge where, rugby was the thing to do. Lucky to be part of a handful of teams that won provincial championships as well. So that really kickstarted my rugby career, and gave me a shot at a few different rep rugby teams, kind of in the latter stages of high school, and then hopping over to UVC after that.
So you spent, my understanding is I think you got a commerce degree at UBC, right?
Yeah.
So you're playing university rugby, doing your commerce degree, getting nods from Team Canada at the same time. How does that manifest? Like, how are you finding time to do that stuff?
Yeah, it was an interesting time managing all of that. I mean, like most university student athletes, the balance between sport and your academics can be an interesting one, especially with all the distractions when you're at university. But yeah, I was playing at UBC. Spence McTavish was the coach, and who, another guy that was very influential in my career, was able to play with the Birds, the top side, basically right away, which was exciting. And then I was having looks with the sevens team. I was playing a bit of rep stuff with the BC team, and then Morgan Williams was actually in touch with me quite a bit, and Shane Thompson as well. So I got to, there was an injury here or there, or I looked good at rugby camp over in Victoria. I got picked up for a few tours. So it was my first year that I got a look, and got invited to Victoria, and then got on the squad to go over to Wellington, New Zealand, which was my first cap, which was obviously super exciting. And, my eyes were wide open, and I was lucky to have that opportunity. And from there, it was kind of a bit of a mixed bag, because I was obviously at UBC and playing there too. So I just got to hop on tours here and there, which was great because it allowed me to finish my education, and still play at UBC. I did also have an injury in the middle there where I missed out on about 2 years of rugby. So I was on the shelf for the better part of 2 years. But yeah, that's kind of how that all shook out.
Quite the transition from 13-year-old, I'm not really sure I like this, to let's go play for Canada for a while and see how that works out. So yeah. I mean, it led to, you're renowned for your sevens, but you also played a bunch of games with the 15s, and you represented Canada at the 2015 World Cup in England, which is pretty amazing. Talk to us, I guess, about the experience playing the World Cup in England, the birthplace of rugby. What were your expectations like? Was it enjoyable for you? I guess walk us through a little bit of what that was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, the lead up to it was an interesting one too, because it was such a competitive team. I was playing mostly fly half at that point, trying to make it on as a fly half in that team. And you had Nate Hirayama, Liam Underwood, Connor Braid, all solid fly halves. So I actually made the pivot to fullback, because outside of Matt Evans, there weren't too many other guys other than Kieran Hearn had a bit of a sniff at fullback. I thought, that's a better spot for me to be, to make this team. So, I mean, for me, it was, making it there was huge. I wasn't one to be like, I should make this team every day of the week. It was, I need to do my best to, to have a chance to make it on the squad. So the lead up to it was nerve wracking, and the selections were tough. And I was super lucky to make it onto that team, because it was such a competitive squad. And we had a solid group, pool to play with Ireland, France, Italy, and Romania. Yeah, I mean, looking at this 2019 World Cup, comparing the two, obviously it was, pretty favorable. So we were going in, expecting to win at least 2 games was our expectations. We had a very solid team, and obviously it didn't go that way. We had, Ireland, I wasn't able to play in. I had a shoulder injury, so I missed out on that one. But got a look in the France game, a bit of the Italy game, and the Romania game, and they were all tight, especially the Italy and Romania, and would just, it just wasn't our day on those ones. I mean, if we had been able to play again, I think it would have gone the other way. But you know, to play in England, you know, such an iconic, you know, we played in so many iconic stadiums. You know, the experience was amazing. I mean, can't get past that. Obviously, being as competitive as I am, not being able to win a game there was pretty frustrating, to say the least. But you know, obviously enjoyed the trip with a solid group of players and staff as well. It was a really cohesive unit, and we had a great build up to the World Cup. And it was unfortunate that you know, we weren't able to really. I mean, we showed we could play well, but we just didn't get to feel those games over the line.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's been 5 years now, but it's always entertaining to watch Canada play in the world stage like that. And yeah, it was probably frustrating on from your end and from the players' end, because as you said, Romania, you should have been there. Italy, you should have been there. Just it wasn't in the cards. And yeah, so you know, good on you. But you transition, because you're kind of between 7s and 15s, and with that, you've now my guess is you've played over 67s World Series. Is that right?
Yeah, to be completely honest, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's above that. So
we'll go with above 60. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear about the longevity of your career. Like those little short series are very intense. So talk to us about how you stay healthy and move forward and continue to play so many events.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, after the 2015 World Cup, that was one of my big goals personally, to, you know, get to and play at a 15s World Cup. And the other one was to get to an Olympic Games. And to do that, you always have to be playing 7s, because 15s isn't included in the Olympics. So after 2015, I made the shift and just said, you know what, I want to go all in on 7s. I love where the team's trending and the competitiveness that it has on the world stage. So pivoted over to that, and yeah, I've been lucky enough to play in quite a few tournaments. And as far as the longevity goes, I think part of it's luck for sure. I mean, you see so many great athletes that are in tip-top shape that just, you know, wrong place, wrong time. So a bit of luck, and I definitely made a shift in a lot of my habits. Nutrition, prehab, rehab was a big one as well. We used to have quite a few staff members that were dedicated to that prehab, rehab, obviously S&C as well, that we still have. But yeah, a mix of all of that has allowed me to probably avoid some quite a few injuries or niggles here and there. And also if you do pick up a few things here and there, it's what you do after the ice baths, the rehab, and that kind of stuff. So I made that, you know, habit of my everyday routine. I've also had some chronic injuries that still stick with me to this day. So staying on top of those and having, you know, the support staff to be able to keep me on top of some things has definitely prolonged my career without a doubt. So yeah, I've been lucky to be able to play so many tournaments. It's been a great team. It's obviously changed over the years, but very tight knit, and obviously a very competitive World Series nowadays.
Yeah, it is. Talk to us, since you've played both at very high levels. In my mind, rugby is a sport that's based around camaraderie, and it's one of those sports where the camaraderie is just at a different level than other sports. What's the difference between the camaraderie between 7s and 15? Is it similar? Is it different because it's a smaller team or a larger team? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. One I've been asked before. The funny thing with 15s is you have 30 plus guys on a tour, plus all the staff, right? So you can go a day without really having a proper conversation with someone on the squad. You have also your different groups as far as like talking rugby and strategy. You'd have your front rowers or tight 5, then you'd have your back row, then you have your scrum half, fly halves, then outside backs. So there are, you know, cohorts within the team. Obviously guys are outside of that are all good friends, but within 7s, you have to be able to play every position more or less. You know, you have to be able to hop on there, and outside of the set piece, you need to be able to know, you know, every single move, every single play. So that along with it only being 12 or 13 players on tour does make it a little bit more tight knit. The team culture has to be on point. Not saying that it does in 15s, but it is such a small group. So you do need to be able to get along with everyone. And we've been super lucky with the 7 squad where it's, you know, we've the reason we've done so well over the past years and long term as well is because the group has been so tight. You know, the boys are on the field playing for each other, and it's because it is such a small group, you need that tenfold.
Yeah, I think you're right. You did, like, you hit the nail right on the head. You've got such a small group. You're playing for each other. I mean, it's awesome that you get the Canadian jersey on, but you're on the pitch with each other. You're not on with the fans or your coaches. You're on there with each other. So, yeah, that's a great way to sum it up. I'm gonna cue something up here. Just give me a second to get this ready. But I got a little video here to show you, and I just want to make the sound is on. And I just want you to kind of walk through this. This is just the tail end of this video. You're highlighted. That wasn't my fancy work. This was somebody else that I found.
Ball nicely out in front.
Nice tackle there.
Coming in from Dylan Sage. Harry Jones, though, has spotted a gap. The former skipper's in.
So what, I guess, tell the listeners, tell the viewers if they're watching on YouTube, what was that try?
Looks like it was my 100th try.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100th try, which again, lucky to have been able to play for so long to score that many, but you know, testament to the guys that I play with, obviously, to set me up, because that one was a fairly easy walk-in, just the other boys setting it up and opening up the space. But yeah, I mean, during the game, I don't think I was thinking, I know I wasn't thinking too much about what number the try was. It was more just, you know, trying to do my small job for the team and looking at the process of it. I've never been one to look at numbers and figures and stuff like that while I've been playing rugby. I found out after the game. One of the boys threw me the ball, I think, and our manager had said something. And yeah, special moment for sure. Cool to be able to do that. But I can definitely tell you that I was probably more concerned about either the next game or how that game went rather than, you know, the 100th try.
It looked like South Africa, right?
Yeah, South Africa.
Not an easy team.
Yeah, good team to score against, that's for sure.
What I like, though, you said earlier about sevens, you have to be able to play all the positions. And if you rewind that clip, I think you touched the ball 4 or 5 times in the 8 or 9 phases leading up to the try, and you're everywhere on the pitch, back and forth. You're in rucks. You're taking the first tackle. So when you talk about being everywhere and doing everything, that try actually sums it up. So good on you and good on your team for getting down the pitch the way you did. It was really nice.
I appreciate that.
So 2020 has been disappointing for many. Like everybody, that's been just one of those crap years. But probably even more so for professional athletes and national athletes. You talked earlier about, you know, ultimate goal of going to the Olympics, and you get the Olympics that were supposed to happen this year, but now they're 2021. What's that disappointment like, and what's your preparation process right now?
Yeah, it's it's an interesting one. Obviously, going back to 2016, I mean, even before that, there's a few of us that have been chasing this dream for a while. 2016 didn't go our way, missing out against the States by a score, and then not being able to get it done at the repechage, and then coming to this one where obviously the States were able to go top 4, and that opened up an opportunity for us in our regional qualifier, which we were able to get through fairly handily, and then things were looking good and trending really well. You know, you look at the last couple tournaments that we played, especially Vancouver, obviously being our home tournament, but you know, beating some of the top teams in the world, and then after that you got 4 more tournaments to go before the Olympics. So we were pretty excited, and the team was feeling really good. And then this whole COVID thing happened, and man, it was a crazy time because we had no idea what was going on, and things were being announced, and it was an absolute, you know, sevens in itself is a roller coaster to watch and play. And then this whole the idea of the Olympics happening or not happening was an absolute roller coaster because we had no idea, also no control over it. So when it was kind of the rumors were starting to come out that it might not happen, we were still kind of thinking, no, the Olympics has to happen. You know, they're going to find a way. And then obviously the Canadian Olympic Committee decided to pull all our athletes out of the Olympics. So, I mean, even if it was going to happen, you know, we weren't going to be going. So that in itself was crazy. And then obviously the Olympics got postponed. And then, at that point, you just didn't really know what was going on, how long this pandemic might last. So I just continued to train. I was training basically every single day, to be honest, not knowing what was happening. And then when we kind of find out that the season is getting pushed and the Olympics is next July, had to kind of reconfigure our plans and everything like that. So it's been all over the place, but we've been able to train a bit. Some of the more senior guys have been able to take a little bit of time off for a bit of personal development because we won't be starting the season until April in the new year as of right now. So it's been a very interesting time to navigate. Tough, from my perspective and the rest of the team, where we were so close to getting to the Olympics. But again, my thought process is that, there are people in the world that are in much worse situations right now. So it kind of puts things into perspective a little bit where, how can you really be, you're obviously upset, but I mean, you can't be too angry at the fact that, we're quite privileged to be, live where we live, do what we do, be fairly comfortable. So, I mean, it's been, a whole whack of different emotions and thought processes and, really, looking at things from a different perspective as well. So, and here we are just still not knowing exactly what's going to happen. We hope that they can figure it out and host the Olympics in a safe manner for everyone to attend. But at this point, we're still a bit of a question mark.
So, I mean, good perspective. There's still lots of questions up in the air for sure. If they go ahead and if everything works, do you have any goals? Like, do you have any personal goals? Do you have any team goals?
Yeah, I mean, personally and as a team, we've been wanting to medal, for forever now, to be completely honest. We now have a team that shows that we can do that very thing. We know we can medal, on our day, we can beat anyone on the circuit, and we've done it before. So, I mean, it's having that, in our back pocket is great. It gives an added confidence, and we have a great team with a great mix right now as well. So the expectations are to medal and to prepare in the right way. Obviously, right now it's, without any tournaments, it's more just, training at the facility for the guys that are in there right now. Other guys are training at home and keeping fit. And then when the time's right, we're all going to be back together and just push forward.
Well, I know all Canadian rugby fans are looking forward to that, and we're all going to be cheering you on. Hopefully everything goes forward and there's no hiccups along the way. So we're at a point right now, I don't know if you've listened to any of my pods before, but we do this little thing in the middle called quick fire. And I've got about 15 to 20 questions that are designed to kind of get a little different sense of who the guests are. So half of them are kind of rugby based, half of them are kind of personal based. So you want to give it a try?
Let's do it.
All right. First one, 7s or 15s?
7s.
You did hesitate there a little bit.
Well, I mean, I love both. I do. I love both. But 7s is close to the heart right now.
I think that's fair. Right. Who's the best player you ever faced?
I'm going to say Victor Vito on my first cap, because I had to go head to head with him. My first 7s cap in, way back when.
Tough match.
Yeah.
What was the best match you were ever part of?
Oh man, I think that's got to be it's got to be Singapore. The Singapore win with the 7 squad. Yeah.
When was that? That wasn't too long ago.
That was 2016.
2016. Jeez, time flies.
Yeah.
Favorite location on the World Series tour?
Obviously, outside of Vancouver, because I'm biased on that one. It'd have to be Hong Kong. It's
Hong
just
Kong?
so historic and such a great time. Great place to visit.
All right. What's your favorite rugby tradition?
Man, it's going to be corny, but I enjoy the fact that, you can still, have a beer after, or, that respect after the game is still very prevalent and it hasn't been lost over time. I think it's pretty cool.
I don't think that's corny. Even with professionalism, you can still do that. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right, what's your nickname?
Harold. Nady calls me Harold a decent amount. I used to be called Prince back in high school, but that one's faded, which is nice. So let's go Harold.
You might bring it back.
Yeah, I know.
Who's the player that you love to smash?
Oh man, a player. Um,
You get a few, do you?
Man, let's go with Luke Traharn on Wales. Although
Okay.
he's tough to grab. When I do, it's fun. I'm good buddies with him. He's a great player. So whenever I can get a good lick on him, it's always a good time laughing after the tackle.
I find that's awesome because most people, when they answer this, it's somebody that they know. It's a friend that they used to play with or something. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Any rugby superstitions?
Not really. I knock on wood a lot. I knock on wood a lot whenever, injury chat goes about. So that's really my only thing. I'm not too superstitious, but I do knock on wood just in case.
That's pretty superstitious. All right. Any three to take golfing. Could be alive, could be dead. Doesn't have to be rugby, but anybody that you would take on a weekend golfing trip.
Oh man.
Better
Let's
yet,
go with
do you golf?
Yeah, not as much as I used to, but I still go out now and again. Let's see. I'd take Johnny Wilkinson,
Oh, that'd be a good one.
hero growing up. I'd take my dad.
Yeah.
Take my dad out golfing, and you know what? I take Nate Hirayama as well. He's a hell of a golfer, so I'd be able to learn a thing or two from him.
A few guys have mentioned, Nate, that they would take him out too. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's a good chat as well. So,
What's your most used app on your phone?
most used app. Let's see. Probably. No, I guess it is an app. Probably FaceTime, because I'm living over in Victoria, so all my family and a lot of my friends are in Vancouver. So I'm not getting over there as much lately. So just connecting with them. So I'll probably have to go with FaceTime.
That's fair. What's your go-to food?
Oh, it's called the Hairy Hash. It's just like a mix of just like yams and onions and mushrooms and some type of like meat or tofu or something like that, just all thrown in there. Spinach. The
Sounds
missus
good.
calls it a hairy hash. It's she doesn't like it, but I do.
All right. Chips or cookies?
Chips.
What kind?
Honey Dijon.
Fancy chips. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that where the Prince comes in or what?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, we shouldn't be bringing that up too many times, or else it will actually come back.
I'll try and drop it a couple more there.
Yeah,
French fries or onion rings?
onion rings.
Not good. And what's a guilty pleasure?
Any type of ice cream that has like peanut butter and chocolate in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Mine too. What's your favorite beer?
Let's see. Probably Kronenberg.
Where's that from?
It's like it's a European beer.
Okay.
It's like
Sounds German or something.
It's like I think it might be German. It's a blonde ale. It's really good.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this. And where's the best place for a post-match beer?
The best place anywhere?
Yeah.
It's got to be the Roxy.
Is that in BC?
Is that in BC? It's in Vancouver. It's the host. What's that bar club after
Okay.
Vancouver Sevens? So you have every single Sevens player crammed in there with everyone else in town
Nice.
that watch the game. Yeah.
All right. What series are you binge watching right now?
What am I watching right now? The Office.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Just started The Office again.
Okay.
Round 2. Yeah.
I've never been an Office fan, but my family is slowly getting me into it.
It's pretty good.
I'm starting to enjoy it. All right. What's your favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, that's a very common one. A lot of people say that one.
Yeah, it's love it. It's a classic.
All right. Who would play you in the Netflix movie of your life? Only 3 left, including this one.
Ryan Gosling.
He's a good local BC boy, right?
Yeah.
All right. Who would play the leading lady?
Let's just Jennifer Aniston. Why not?
Oh, okay. Shooting big. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. What would the movie be called?
It'd be called a broken nose.
Broken Nose. Not bad. All right, that's it for the quick fire. Thanks very much. That was I think that's usually my favorite segment, is just getting a little bit more personality in there.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
All right, so just a handful of questions left, Harry.
Awesome.
Who had the biggest impact on you as a player?
Oh man.
I know you mentioned a few coaches in the past and stuff. Does anybody stand out?
Yeah, I think it'd be, obviously my brothers were super influential, getting me into the game and following them. My dad obviously just opened up any and every sport for me, which was amazing. But as far as, rugby specifically, probably Tim Murdy. Very influential, opened a lot of doors for me as far as my understanding of the game and, what became my passion for the game as well. So I had a great relationship with him in high school and then at the rep level as well. Used to be an under 19 and under 20 coach. He's a good friend and was a great coach as well. And has obviously done great things at Rockridge and now still doing great things at Shawnigan as well. So, I mean, he's not only a great guy, but had a massive impact on my rugby career.
That's awesome. I thought I recognized the name, and then you said Shawnigan. That's okay. I pieced it together there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're co-captain of the Sevens team. How do you see yourself as a leader?
It's a great question. I think that we're lucky to have, a lot of leaders within our team. We have, I think at times we've had the most capped team on the circuit. So it shows that, there's been a solid group of guys that have stuck around for a while. So it makes, being a captain, which more or less is just a letter on your jersey kind of thing. Makes it a lot easier when you have a group of guys that are so experienced, because you're not having to do all the talking, and nor should you as a leader. I don't think it's all about empowering other people to give out ideas and speak to what they think we should do in certain scenarios. So I mean, it's obviously it's an honor to be able to, captain a side, especially along Nady right now, as we're bouncing that back and forth. I don't know. I just try to lead by example, to be honest, just on the field and in training, and just do the little things. I always preach just, focusing on the process and your kind of individual job, and the rest will take care of itself. And it's something I've learned too, and I still try and, I'm still learning every single day on the field. I know Nate will say the exact same thing along with the rest of the boys. I'm still learning. The Sevens is an ever-changing sport. And if you're not, then I think, you're going to start falling behind. So, I'm lucky to have that role within the team, but at the same time, I just try and do my job and lead by example.
I think that's awesome. I don't think you could ask for anything else from a captain. Some good thoughts there.
Appreciate that.
So, you're 31, the Olympics, hopefully next year in 2021. So let's forward to 2031. You're 41, 42 years old. You're at a team reunion. Team reunion. Hey, I'm 44. It's coming for you, man. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want those guys, around the bar that they're there with you? What do you want them to say about you as a rugby player? What do you want? What do you think they're saying about you? What do you want them to say?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I'm not one for, preaching about the accolades and the numbers and the figures and all that kind of stuff like we spoke about earlier. I probably want to be remembered as a guy people enjoy playing with and, respected on and off the field. I mean, what more can you ask for? Like I said in the previous question, I was just trying to do my little job and provide for the team. And if that can be reflected in what people are saying in 10 years, and that would be great. Whether it'll happen, I don't know, but I just hope there's a level of respect there and enjoyment for the people around me playing, and both on and off the pitch, obviously.
Really good thoughts. So you're 31. We've already said you had a degree in commerce. Where do you see yourself when you hang up the boots? Have you thought about that yet, or is that too far out of your periphery?
No, it's something that I've been thinking about Well, I've always thought about, obviously going to school first and getting my education out of the way was big for me. I've always thought about what I'm going to do after. At times I thought about it too much, to be completely honest, where I had to do some deep digging and say, I've got to enjoy what I'm doing right now and what my career is right now, and that is rugby. And after I changed that mindset, I started playing some of the best rugby I've ever played, in my opinion. And so I've still kept my finger on the pulse there, and I've actually signed on with a commercial brokerage here in Victoria that Connor Braid and I are actually getting up and running with one of my good friends. It's called William Wright Commercial, and so we've been working on that since the start of the new year, basically, and just gaining as much experience as possible. Obviously, knowing that I'm going to go and be diving back into the rugby 100%. But that's, I've kind of paved the way for my transition, and I feel really lucky that opportunity arose, and it's something that I'm excited to do and have been doing for coming up on a year now. So yeah, that's the plan. And athlete transition is such a hot topic, and something that I've had a few chats about at different events, and I still don't think enough focus is on that, because transitioning out of sport is very tough in itself. Not having something to transition to makes that much more difficult. When we talk about all the the complications that people might have after sport, just one more hurdle that can have a negative effect on you. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have gotten education behind me and prepared myself for a career after as well. And I'm by no means fully immersed in that, because obviously the rugby is the thing that I'm focusing on right now. But yeah, I'm lucky enough to get a bit of experience and hopefully have a smooth transition when I decide to finish rugby up.
It sounds like you're trying to set that up for that to happen. Did I mishear you? Did you say that you speak at events about athletes transitioning into the business world?
Yeah, I've done some events. One with Lululemon actually, and a few others. Just speaking about the athlete transition, among other things. And I was lucky to be on a forum with 4 other past Olympic athletes and Olympic medalists. And I was actually the one that was still playing. So I don't know if they thought I was retired or if they just wanted my input as a current player. But yeah, I mean, it's great to, be able to speak about that. And, I have chats with the younger players in the group about, planning outside of just rugby. Cause it's easy just to play rugby, enjoy it. And then, 10 years goes by and you're just like, I haven't planned for anything after rugby. So just educating and helping others understand, what it is and what it looks like. And, the simple things you can do to prepare yourself is, invaluable, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of great ideas there. Connor Braid was on a couple of pods ago. We talked a little bit about that as well. So it's nice to see that you guys are thinking ahead about what's coming next. Mm-hmm. As much as we hate to see that coming, it's inevitable, right? So
yeah, of course.
Lastly, Harry, any great rugby stories you can share with us? Feel free to throw a teammate under the bus, something fun, what have you.
Man,
the mind's going there. I can see the wheels turning.
There's a lot that I can't share over a podcast.
I can restrict it to 18 and older if you'd like.
Let me think. Yeah, I mean, one of the great ones, and that's an easy one, is obviously Singapore, and the celebrations after that was. It was really cool to see, because all the other teams seemed to be very happy that we had won, and so that's, obviously it's easy just to say we partied after, but I mean, just to, be out, and there was quite a few congratulations from teams from across the world, which was something that, was just really cool to see. Obviously Canadians are well loved across the world, it seems like, but, for guys playing the same sport in the same tournament to be genuinely happy for us to have finally won a World Series. That was, a really cool moment, and able to share a beer with those guys, and as well as our team, at least a few beers, was, I think that was pretty cool. Again, you don't get that in a lot of sports, and, that was a very special moment in Canadian history. And to top that off, you had other captains and well-established players on other from other nations that were congratulating and genuinely happy that we had, finally, jumped that hurdle and were able to win a World Series title. I think that was pretty cool, and that will definitely stick with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I imagine that's a good story. Like you said, a lot of people love Canadians, and the fact that you were able to do that on foreign soil and so many people cheering you on, that would have an amazing experience. You'll cherish that for sure. Well, listen, it's been great talking with you, Harry. Really appreciate you taking the time. We wish you nothing but the best over the next few months during COVID, and can't wait to see you back on the Sevens tour and representing Canada here, hopefully within the next 10 months or so at the Olympics.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really happy I was finally able to get on the Canadian Ruck.
It's been a while trying to set this up, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
All right. Thanks, Harry. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Thanks very much, Harry. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat. It's been a long time coming. We laughed a little bit through the pod there. We started making contact with each other in April, and we just chatted a couple of weeks ago. So it was a long process, but I'm glad we did. And on top of that, Harry and I have been chatting to do a kind of a roundtable pod with him, Nate Hirayama, and maybe one or two others. And we're going to dissect one of the Sevens games and have a lot of fun with it. So before we get to that, best of luck prepping for the Olympics, Harry. Can't wait to see you and the guys, go for gold. And we're going to be proud of all the efforts you guys do when those Olympics happen in 2021. Also want to say thanks again, Gabriel Casey. It was nice chatting with you, and wish you the best of luck as well. Coming up next, our next pod next week will be Jonathan Kaplan, who, when he retired from officiating, he was the most capped international official ever. And then after that, we've got a three-part series on wheelchair rugby. First, we have Eric Rodriguez, followed by Mike Whitehead, and then Patrice Desjardins. It's exciting chatting with these guys, true spirits and pioneers, and the grit and resilience and perseverance these gentlemen show, overcoming travesty and just injuries that most people would just shy away from the rest of the world. These guys decided, hey, what? I'm going to try this rugby thing. And bang, they're there and they're loving it. And they were great conversations, and I can't wait for you to hear those. And then from after that, we also have Kyle Bailey. Kyle is now back from the Bermuda Tens. He's out in BC quarantining, doing his self-isolation, 14-day phase. So he and I are going to be chatting soon. And I think we finally got a date nailed down for the front row pod, which is going to be exciting. We're going to have Cole Keith, DJ Sears Giroux, Ray Barkwell, Aaron Carpenter, and Hubert Bidens on a pod talking about the dark arts of the front row. But as always, we're at the end of our pod. I just want to say thank you again. Keep spreading the good rugby word, the good Canadian rugby word. It's great chatting with all these pro athletes and international athletes, and it's just a lot of fun for me, and I hope it's a lot of fun for you. COVID restrictions are tightening up around the world again. That second phase is sweeping through. Here in the Maritimes, some orange phases in our zones are starting to drop. So I would just remind everybody, do your best. We can outlast this COVID thing by being smart and safe and healthy and doing everything we can in our power to make sure it stays away. That's on us for each other to make sure that we're doing all right. But as we close, I always have to thank Ben Sound Music for supplying with our tunes. And I always want to tell you, feel free to request topics or guests for future podcasts. I love hearing from people that listen. And I'll have to end it. This is Jamie. Until next time, I want you to stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and most importantly, keep on rucking.